All right, parents, here we go again. It's the Ask Dr. Tony episode. This is the Experience Miracles podcast, and I'm your host, Dr. Tony Ebel, an expert in pediatrics, neurodevelopmental disorders, and drug-free, nervous system-focused healthcare. On this weekly episode, I'll be addressing the top questions on every parent's mind. If there's one thing we love and welcome, it's parents who never stop learning, asking the hard questions, and advocating for your kiddos like none other. So get ready for some real talk, real-life clinical and parenting experience, and real easy to understand answers that will help your family take action and get to that next level of health and healing. You ask, I answer. Let's dive into today's episode. It is the Ask Dr. Tony show time. I don't know how to say that. It's always a little bit weird when you say your own name out loud. I don't think too many of us speak in the third person. And as I talk about a lot on this platform and the podcast and all the things, whenever I do have to listen to my own content or talk about myself, that is when my sympathetic fight or flight nervous system, the side of the nervous system that when overreactive causes so many health issues for our kids and ourselves, that triggers for me. But I love digging into these questions. I love getting on, live, doing the podcast, cranking our YouTube videos. I love writing articles. If you have not made your way over to our website, PXDocs, so PXDOCS.com, and checked out all the articles there. I've been at this for a little while, helping kids and families get healthy naturally. And so I think I definitely missed the boat in the blogging days before Instagram, Facebook, podcasts, YouTube really blew up. But I don't know, if you're like me and you're just always looking for more information, like really in-depth, solid information that will help your kids and family be healthy. And for those of you that are always tuning in with us because your kids have lost their health and they're going through different conditions, chronic challenges, and you're looking to restore and rebuild their health, again, depth of information in a really organized, effective way is the most effective information, right? It's the most helpful information. It's the old quote, knowledge is power. Not really. The ability to implement and take action upon knowledge is power. So if you haven't taken that action yet, if you jump on with us, as we go through these different, whether it be the Ask Dr. Tony episodes or whether it's the deep dives into different conditions or topics or the interviews, if you haven't made your way to the website, pxdocs.com, and I would push even further because you're going to get so much value out of it for your kids and your family. Bookmark it. Subscribe to our newsletter. They're on the website. I have no idea where. I don't build websites or do all the pieces and parts of this mission. I do write the articles and I do make the content here, but I know somewhere on the website, I'm sure you can put your email in there and get our email newsletter. And I promise you, literally, because I write those articles and then we add this sort of like the podcast and the video content and all the other forms of content. We add that to the newsletters as well. And then it also just opens up another channel of communication from you guys to us. And we love to hear from you. We love to hear your questions and be able to answer them with podcasts, with articles, with all the above. Usually, whether I start with the podcast and I then take those outlines and our team turns it into an article, or sometimes I'll write an article and then that turns into a podcast and a video. And so we're here for you, 1,000,000,000%. And then also, when you get connected to the site, you find the directory where you can find your local PX doc if you don't have that yet. And then also, we just get to open up communication with you. And what I can really tell you, we love the most, and it comes after you ask the questions. It comes after you find a local doctor to take care of you and your family, is we love to hear the miracles. We love to hear the stories and the wins and the transformation. And so let's go there. So the beginning of that journey for your family would be, okay, I've never heard of this. I want to get natural, drug-free root cause healing for my family. I'm done with the conventional pediatrician, blaming genetics, medication for everything, saying they'll grow out of it when your gut told you all the time they wouldn't. So you go down this holistic natural world and you try all the diet changes and all the detoxes and all the supplements, and you get some really great stuff happening. But often, for the majority of families we meet today, you still have those gut feelings that go, there's something more. There's something missing. There's maybe even a foundational piece missing. Well, that's the nervous system. That's what we talk about all the time. So as you make this journey here with us on the platform, the podcast, and all the things, and you get into an office and you get started with care, well, then what so many of you have experienced is, well, that opens up a whole nother can of questions, right? You're like, okay, I sorted this all out. This sounds exactly the perfect storm. That is exactly what my child went through. I can tell their nervous system is dysregulated. I can tell that they are stuck in fight or flight. My child is a raging bull and wound up all the time, can't sleep, can't control their emotions, their behavior, can't pay attention and sit still, can't stop stimming, stuck with anxiety. I can tell that's there. Or maybe you've heard us talk about the drunken bull and that side of dysregulation. And they're just very disorganized and they're exhausted and they're emotionally dysregulated and they have trouble focusing. So you find your way through our platform into an office and you get started with care. And then a bunch of questions come from that. And when we look at the protocols that we use, we are obsessed with root cause drug-free healing, which means we need to be obsessed as PX doctors with objective functional testing. So now we're going to go a little nerdy, okay? So the most important thing we have to offer on the process, on the path to experiencing miracles is what's called our nervous system or neurological insight scans. Now, that term, the reason they're actually called the insight scans, I don't own them. I'm just one of the lead. I just love them. I couldn't do my work without them. Biggest fan ever. I got to have Dr. Fletcher come on and join with us, the real maestro behind this incredible technology company and these scans that have been around for 20 to 30 years. And now you see this world awesomely moving to Whoop and moving to Oura Ring and moving to Garmin and Apple Watch and biometrics and all these other sort of things. Well, chiropractic, especially nervous system focused chiropractors, we've been there for a long time. So the insight scans become our functional, objective test. They literally look inside your or your child's nervous system and they find that subluxation, nervous system dysfunction, dysregulation, and dysautonomia. So step one with the scans. So what we're answering, the question, I should probably have started with that, huh? The question we are answering with this one, it'll be in the title, is what's happening? Explain it to me. Why are my child's scans, maybe you're under care yourself and you're experiencing this, moms and dads. Why are my scans improving? My nervous system literally is restoring, rebuilding, and reorganizing function. These scans are looking better, which is, I know I should be excited, but, the old but, right? But the symptoms are still there. I haven't really seen any change in the symptoms. I'm not feeling any better, or my child's not feeling any better. I'm not seeing any changes on the outside, on the surface with symptoms and with expression. Or maybe, and I've covered this a lot over the last couple of weeks, maybe there's even some detoxes. So you're either stuck or maybe some symptoms are getting worse, while at the same time, the scans and the testing and the functional analysis of nervous system well-being is actually getting better. So with this one, we're going to answer that. We're going to dive into that and say, well, the scans almost always improve before symptoms. And I'm going to give you 6 reasons why. It's really 5 reasons why, with kind of a 6th contrast point, how it's really different than medicine and medication and kind of the default mechanism. We've all been hardwired to say, well, if the symptoms aren't changing, whatever we're doing for healthcare isn't working, because that's the root of conventional medicine, is stuff symptoms down, cover them up with medications. So that's kind of been this new definition of a treatment or a modality or an intervention is working. So everything in healthcare has kind of got lumped into this same medical philosophy. Well, that doesn't fit root cause healing. That doesn't fit the nervous system, because the way medications work and conventional medicine and their philosophy and their treatments work and their science, if you want to call it that, the way that works, it works completely differently. Literally, it's actually a 180 as to how natural neurological root cause healing works. So let's dig in here, because it can be confusing, it can be frustrating, and it can also actually be exciting at the same time. You want to talk about nerdy nervous system chiropractors, all of us in PXX, you'll never see us get more excited than when the scans are improving even though we know that the symptoms haven't yet for our patient. And we come in almost more excited at that juncture of care than when the symptoms are improving. And I know you're thinking, well, what's wrong with these people? Wouldn't they be more excited for it? There's going to be more excitement later on, because when you get both, it's 1 + 1 = 11. But the reason we will bring extra excitement into this report and this communication with you about when the scans are improving, even though the symptoms haven't yet, is because we know it's going to be harder for you to understand what's really going on. And it's such an incredible, including this whole podcast episode here, then it's such an incredible educational opportunity for us to be able to really help shift your perspective and understanding as to where healing really comes from. So let's go there, because it comes from the inside out. See, symptoms, if we look at the progression of chronic illness in kids and families, symptoms are the last thing to show up sequentially, chronologically. What we know with the perfect storm is that high stress fertility and pregnancy journeys, birth interventions and injuries to the brainstem and the vagus nerve, and then this onslaught of toxins and vaccinations and medications. So that's the sequence of the storm. Probably shorter than I've ever said it out of the zillions of times I've talked about the perfect storm. That's probably the most abbreviated version ever. And so those stressors, those perfect storm triggers and indicators, we call them the 3 T's in chiropractic: physical stress, trauma, toxic stress, toxins, and then emotional stress. So from that standpoint, they show up and they then, so let's call that step 1. Number 2, they then cause underneath the surface neurophysiological dysfunction. So now the nervous system goes haywire. Well, the nervous system controls every other system of the body, whether it's gut or immune system and inflammation, respiratory system, ears, nose, throat, sinus, you name it. So once you have the storm, step 1, then you have neurological dysfunction, step 2, that all happens beneath the surface. That all happens on the inside of the body. Well, then the systems, the gut, the inflammation, and those things start to go haywire. And when they become dysfunctional, that's step 3. And then step 4 is the expressions of the symptoms. So the reason I wanted to draw that out into a 4-step sequence is to tell you there's 3 things that need to be addressed before the symptoms, okay? So symptoms show up last. And so the reason that scans improve first for the majority of our patients before symptoms is because that's actually measuring the middleman there in that sequence. That is measuring the improvement in neurological function. That is measuring the reorganization of the nervous system healing before the systems, so that gut, respiratory, and everything else. We've got to spend some time getting the nervous system better foundationally. Once the nervous system gets better, it only knows healing. God designed our kids to heal. We are all designed to heal. The nervous system is in charge of healing and organization and restoration. And it's always working. I want you to hear this word. It's always working towards that. Subluxation, interference, neurological disorganization gets in the way of the nervous system being able to move in that direction. Healing, adaptability, resiliency, reorganization. That's why sickness sets in. It's a subluxation. It's an interference to the good, so the bad creeps in. And so what happens is when we start to adjust and we start to get a care plan going, we are moving the nervous system foundationally beneath the surface to a better place. And so the nervous system needs time to heal and repair on its own. And then after that, it will go to work inside out. You're going to hear that term a bunch of times on this one. It will then go to work from the inside out, and it will heal the gut. And it will get the immune system and inflammation under control. It will reorganize and recalibrate the endocrine system. So thyroid, thymus, pituitary gland, adrenals. It will help the sensory motor system. So motor, tone, coordination, planning, gait, low tone, high tone, spasticity, stems, seizures, motor tics. The muscular system will get better after the nervous system gets better. So whichever system is dysfunctional for your child and kicking out symptoms, they're all tied to the foundational nervous system. And that function doesn't have a direct symptom to it. When you have subluxation, when you have sympathetic dominance, when you have nervous system dysregulation, dysautonomia, and imbalance, you can have a whole host of symptoms because it can wreak havoc on various different systems. So I wanted to almost have a few minutes of kind of word vomit there so that right now at this junction, we can kind of just pause and go, so if you think of all of that happening, So if the road to illness and symptoms involves all those steps and all those systems and all those things, well, then the road to healing, neurologically, naturally, it's a lot of steps. It has a lot going on. It's super intricate and multifaceted, so it's going to take some time, and there's probably going to be quite a bit of work underneath the surface and from the inside out that needs to be done first. Think of it like this, okay? Think of it, and this is why we measure the scans, not just symptoms. This is why we know that our care is working, not just like with medicine where we go, oh, symptoms are better or not, if the care worked or didn't. We have to redefine healthcare and actually make it about health restoration, not just symptom alleviation, right? And shoving them into the closet and calling it good. So the two analogies I've always used, actually I'll give you two to really drive this point home. Number one, it's like, it just happened this morning. So our number 3, Elena, is the most like me. Well, everybody's, that's how it goes with kids, right? They got different components of you. But Elena is the most just creative, always happy, always talking, always got a new idea and a new plan. And just, meaning she's all excited about what may come next. So Elena might be the visioneer of our family, which means doesn't always pay attention to what's happening in the moment, like cleaning her room, keeping things organized. So right now, her room is an absolute mess. This morning, we couldn't find some homework. We couldn't find the laptop. We couldn't find all these things she needs to do, So real life, right? I'm parenting myself, basically, is how this is. Now, thankfully, she's got chiropractic care, so she's super dialed in. But chiropractic is about optimizing, not eliminating, right? And so if we wait, it'll happen here in an hour. When Elena gets home, first thing's going to be, hey, babe, clean your room. Now, if Elena, it's a mess right now, everyone. If Elena goes in there and 2 minutes later comes out and goes, it's all clean, go ahead and come and check it, Dad. And I just peek my head into her room and it looks all good, symptomatically, it's clean. Because what Elena may do is take all the clothes and all the things and she has 2 closets in there. She could just take all that junk, shove it in the closet, and call it good. And that's how medication works. That's how medicine would say, look, it's working. Your child was having ADHD, behavior issues, and focus challenges. We put them on Ritalin, and hey, it's working. Well, if it's working and it's doing the job to heal the brain and the body, stop taking it. Did it work? Or is it just symptomatically shoving stuff in the closet? And then when you look at this more going forward with this episode and say, okay, how do we know from the inside scans getting better that your child or yourself are on the path to healing? It's honestly, maybe I shouldn't use this one because, weather prediction isn't always the most exact science, but it's like when the radar says, hey, there's a storm coming, but when you look outside, it's clear skies. Well, they know the science of these movements and these shifts and these weather patterns. We know the science of nervous system focused healing, and it starts from the inside out, and we need to restore and rebuild these nervous system patterns and sensory motor regulations. We can measure those things on the scans, and they will improve most often before symptoms. Number 2, we've really already talked about this one, so I'll be brief here. The body needs time to reorganize and get rid of old patterns. What happens when a child, especially with autism and sensory dysfunction and motor challenges, nerves that fire together wire together. So what subluxation does is subluxation wreaks havoc on the nervous system all on its own, and then subluxation allows for compensation. Now, if you've taken your child to a PT or an OT or a speech therapist that's worth their stuff, you've probably not necessarily heard the word subluxation, but you know all about motor tone. You know that some muscles are too tight and they're trying to stretch them and loosen them. Some are too weak and they're trying to strengthen them. And they've probably talked about compensatory motor or muscular patterns. Well, the gut is a muscle, right? The respiratory system is a muscle. So what happens is when we start chiropractic care, there's a lot of unlearning the body needs to go through. We need to get rid of old, dysfunctional, unwanted nervous system patterns and compensations in order to then next replace them with more healthy patterns. So the body needs time to reorganize. And so getting the old stuff out of the way may not yet change the symptoms, but it'll improve nervous system function. We'll show progress on the scans and we'll be able to tell, hey, we're getting the stuck, the subluxated, the unwanted patterns out. That's actually usually the first thing we celebrate on progress scans. Hey, this primary major subluxation and dysfunction, it's out of the way. We'll use words like we've dispersed it, we've cleared it, we've got it on the run. These are terms you'll hear during your progress reports if you're under care. And that will happen before symptoms, because it has to. Number 3, we've really touched on this one too, and it really combines with my number 6. I would just make a list so I can be as organized with this content for you guys as possible. But symptom-based healing is reactive, whereas nervous system-focused, drug-free, natural healing is foundational. So again, kind of running it back on this one, we just have to redefine what it's working means. And we've all grown up with traditional pediatricians and medicine running the show, right? So if we don't have symptoms, we're good. And if we do, we're not. It's not that simple. There is so much more to health, and there's so much more, especially to healing, than just the presence or the absence of symptoms. And so when you get the nervous system better regulating and reorganizing, often those symptoms are not going to be the first thing to go. They might be the last thing to go. And we've also done an episode talking about what are called neurological soft signs. So I'm going to mention it here for a minute, and then I'm going to have the team put that in the notes. And if you really, this information is striking a chord for your family, you also really need to have a good understanding of the neuro soft signs, because here's how it is. There's 3 things, okay, that we can measure. So when we look at number 3 here on our list, it really illustrates this other component of 3 things I want you to really know. When it comes to tracking your child's progress with nervous system focused chiropractic care and root cause healing, there's 3 things we need to be able to track. Number 1 are the insight scans, actual, functional, objective function of the nervous system. When it's moving in the right direction and getting better, get excited, because we're coming for number 2 and we're coming for number 3 on my list of 3 inside here. Number 2 is what we call the neurological soft signs. They start to sleep better. They start to poop and digest better and try new foods. They start to get sick less often, so their immune system is less inflammatory and reactive. They start to breathe better. You can see their shoulders relax, their diaphragm engage, their respiratory patterns start to relax. And number 5 on the I should stop using numbers, right? I'm probably overcooking your math in your brain. But another one that comes with the neurological soft signs is that they move better. You can actually see their posture, their gait, their tone, their coordination. This second group of things is what we call the neurological soft signs. Those are the foundational neurophysiological components of healing that then we'll get to number 3, which is the big bad symptoms: seizures, behavior issues, meltdowns, tantrums, anxiety, tics. We know for sure, parents, hear me on this one, inside this one. I know for sure that what you want gone tomorrow is the big bad stuff: the symptoms, the seizures, the nonverbal speech challenges, the social emotional dysregulation. Y'all, I feel this. I know this. My entire career I felt it, and I'll never forget it. When Oliver was having seizures, okay, horrible symptoms, I wanted those gone instantly. I didn't want what I'm teaching you here to be true. I didn't want to have to go in and work inside out and get the foundation. It wasn't really easy for them to sell me medications, but I could see how it would have been, because I watched my son have 2 different seizures. And it's the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. I don't know how I could ever see anything worse than that. There's got to be a very short list of things in this entire world that would be worse than a seizure for your own child. And so I just want to kind of take a minute here to tell you, I fully, entirely feel and relate with you that you're not going to get as excited, probably, as we do when the scans are getting better, but the big nasty symptoms haven't changed yet. You're probably not going to get quite as excited as we do, as your root cause, really understand the big picture practitioners, when your child starts to sleep better, have less sensory challenges, their digestion improves, their respiration improves, and their motor patterns improve, the neurological soft signs. But the reason, I promise you, that we will come in, big smiles, often we even give awards for this stuff in our practice when the scans and the soft signs get better, because we know what it means. It means we're on the path to full, complete, inside-out healing, and those symptom changes, breakthrough changes are coming, okay? Now, rounding third base with this one, number 4 on my list as to why the scans may get better before the symptoms do. Sometimes it's because the symptoms actually get worse. There can be a flare-up, there can be a detox, there can be this rewiring that happens, and it looks like regression as the body circulates these toxins once the immune system and nervous system are better and the digestive system is working again from the adjustments, and it's letting go of this stored stress and these toxins, but it's actually a sign of things moving in the right direction. I'll have the team link an entire episode. If you're thinking, oh man, the scans are looking better, but my child's actually, there's more meltdowns, there's more seizures, there's more anxiety as I've started care. It's a totally natural thing for a parent for that to give you pause and go, oh, this is concerning. I need you to explain this to me. And if we need to explain it to you 5 times over, my goodness, that's the most human thing ever. Don't feel bad about that at all. Keep asking, keep sending these questions in, keep talking to your PX doc. I love explaining this to parents because I get how just concerning it may be. And when we're a parent and our kids' symptoms aren't getting better, or they're even detoxing like this one and getting a little worse on the outside while getting better on the inside, well, then our emotions take over, right? It's harder to kind of make the cognitive, thoughts through this neurological process. So that's why we make this content. That's why we talk about this stuff with our patients. And so if you want to know more about, is this a regression? Is this a detox? Then hit the show notes on that one too, if you haven't already listened to that full episode, because it's worth going even deeper into that one. If that's something you're experiencing with your child, that you've started care, scans are looking better, but maybe a symptom or two is getting worse. And 5th, 6th, final, kind of going to aggregate these together, is scans are tracking long-term resilience, adaptability, and nervous system function. Scans don't know at all. I always say it to my patients this way, kind of my last metaphor for you. The scans don't read the paperwork, meaning we have our patients before they get all these progress scans. We get a progress scan every 12 visits, and that's where this conversation and question often comes from then. It's like, hey, I know those look better, but we haven't seen any changes on the outside yet, which is why I wanted to go through this in detail so you know why that might be happening from a scientific neurophysiological perspective. But in this way, I often say to people, with scans, the change that's happening on the inside is because the scans don't read the paperwork. So we'll have you fill out paperwork and say, hey, is this getting better? Is that getting better? And we'll have you kind of grade it and score it. And often, because this is real life in the work that I do and our docs do, so 1 or 2, so it's on a scale of 5. A 1 or a 2 means we might be detoxing. Some symptoms might actually be getting worse on the path to get better. Again, whole episode about that if you need to know that. 3s mean no change, okay? 3's in the middle out of 5. So 3 would mean no change happening. And then 4s and 5s. 4 is, hey, change is starting to happen. 5 is like, whoa, mind-blowing, fast, unbelievable, full change and improvement happening with certain symptoms or conditions. So I know you just got to listen to me on this one, but if you can imagine you're filling out that paperwork, and if it's all 3s, that happens a lot in the early stages of the work we do, because we know that the healing is happening on the inside first before it reaches the outside. It's happening with the foundational nervous system rebuilding and reorganizing, and our scanners don't read the paperwork to know one way or not whether the symptoms are getting better. That's a goofy, kind of weird way to say it, because I'm a little bit of a goofy, weird kind of guy, but that's why, along with 1,000 other reasons, I love the Insight scans so much. We couldn't do this work without them because, especially for kids who are chronically ill, older kids, and then especially for parents and adults, the symptoms change last and the scans change first. It goes scans, they tend to improve and change and reorganize first. Second up is the neurological soft signs, sleeping, pooping, sensory things getting better. And then third and final changes are typically the big stuff, the conditions, the symptoms, and that come with it. And so if we didn't have the scans, well, then we would be trying to practice chiropractic in a medical model or a medical paradigm and a medical philosophy. And we don't fit there, okay? First, we're pretty happy. Okay, that's a bad joke. But okay, all right, I'm gonna stop. I don't know that I've ever, in 90, almost 100 episodes, I don't know that a possibly inappropriate joke has come into my head and I've stopped. And I know a lot of you are big fans of this podcast and my rants and tangents and jokes. And so you don't want me to stop right now. But I guess what I'm saying is, from a chiropractic, scientific, philosophical standpoint, chiropractors don't fit in the medical box. And then I'll just run it out a little bit, but I'll keep it safe so my wife doesn't get mad at me. But if you just kind of look at how we're wired, our joy, our positivity, our hope dealing, our want and desire to take the time to listen to you and answer your questions and give you you real explanations and answers and sit down knee to knee with you and help. Like all of the way that we are, like kind of our core values and our personality, that doesn't fit in the medical system either. I mean, it's the most system ever, right? It's like hope stealing. Let me give you the worst case scenario. You want to talk about the nervous system and root cause healing? Yeah, not here. You want to talk about nutrition and lifestyle and environment? Yeah, not here. Oh, you want to question whether having, it's not the actual number. I'm going to be facetious here intentionally. You want to talk about whether giving your child, 4,000 shots and injections of chemicals, for diseases that haven't been around for 4 generations is a good idea or not? Yeah, well, if you even ask the question, we're going to kick you out of here. That couldn't even be less, or it couldn't be more different than us, right? So I'll close this one down to tell you the biggest reason that scans are changing before symptoms is because that's how this works. It's how the actual science of neurophysiological root cause healing works. And so it works that way, so we work that way, all right? And it's the complete 180 philosophical difference than conventional traditional medicine. And so to really make sense of what's happening with your child and with your family as you go through chiropractic care, you kind of got to just delete that file as to how healthcare, because it's sickness care and symptom chasing care, you got to delete that file and replace it with a new paradigm and a new perspective. And out of all the questions and all the conversations we could answer on this platform, this might be the one that really helps you see the difference between the two worlds. And so we love going into this so you can have that information and make that shift. Once you can see it with a different set of lenses and look at things with a different perspective, now I actually think the neurophysiological science is kind of straightforward, right? And it's really simple. And so again, we wrote an entire article that goes along with this one as well. So if you want to see in written form exactly what I was talking about with the 5 to 6 reasons, neurophysiological, so scientific reasons, along with philosophical, and perspective reasons. To me, those are actually not separate things. In chiropractic, it's our philosophy and our perspective that allows us to actually operate with root cause healing science. And so anyways, you can go to the website, pxdocs.com, and read the article about this one and a few other things that I mentioned too. In summary, the inside scans are honestly a progress report from the inside out. They will show us when your child's nervous system is moving from sympathetic fight or flight survival to growth, development, regulation. It's not always fast. It's not always smooth. It's not always linear. It's not always clean. In fact, since I said all those adjectives, let me just tell you the truth. It often happens slower than we want. It often is messier than we'd like. It often is way more roller coastery and whack-a-mole, metaphors I've used or analogies I've used on this podcast before, than we'd like. But it's working. It's happening. Stay the course. Even if the outward changes and symptoms haven't fully arrived yet. The coolest, most important, the inside scans really show their value in these cases where we can see underneath the surface and beneath the hood, hey, healing is happening. We got this. Stay the course. Stick to the care plan. It's our most valuable tool by a million miles to guiding care plans, making our clinical decisions, and being able to reassure parents healing is happening. The work that we do isn't just about symptom relief. It's about long-term resiliency and optimization of nervous system function and restoration. And that's how this stuff works. So if today's episode has brought you some hope, some clarity, some understanding about stuff you really, really needed more information about, awesome. And so please continue to subscribe. If you're on our socials, if you're not yet, Instagram, PX Docs, Facebook, Dr. Tony and the PX Docs Network, podcast, if you're jiving with us there, obviously please subscribe, please leave a review and share it with another parent who needs this message. Honestly, one conversation, one episode, one article can be the catalyst for breakthrough and full, real, actual life transformation and miracles for families. So I hope you know that every time you share this, I hope you, I just feel me on these words as we close this one out. y'all, and I know many of you already have, so this is coming directly to you for the ones that already have, and then everybody that will, continually from this. Every time you share, I hope you feel a big, old, real life hug from me. I love you and appreciate you so much for tuning in, coming through these episodes, asking the questions so that we can do these Ask Dr. Tony ones, and just engaging with us, getting connected with your local PX doc, and giving yourself, your kids, your family, that full chance at life transformation and miracles. It's my favorite thing ever. And then when you share it, I don't have words. I know it's a podcast and it's all about words. And I don't have any words to say thank you enough and to really illustrate and express how grateful and appreciative I really am. Because I do know how, just like we just talked about the sequence of how healing works, I also know how, reaching millions with this message work one at a time. So every time you share it, and with everyone you share it, however you do, I just want you to know and feel how much full appreciation myself and our team has for this. And as always, you just got to be left with this. Your kiddo is not broken, and healing is entirely, fully freaking possible. Keep going. Keep asking questions. Never give up hope. Never stop believing. Their potential is in there. It can take a while. It can be messy. It can be bumpy. But the nervous system is designed by God to heal. It is designed to move towards better, towards reorganization, towards resiliency, healing, and optimization. Who knows what your child's story is going to end up like? But when you're in the middle parts and the messy parts and the dark parts, keep going, keep asking questions, keep engaged with this podcast, this platform, and this community. And I promise you this, we'll be there for you all along the way. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Do you have a question that you would like to submit? Either send it to support@pxdocs.com with the subject Ask Dr. Tony, or head on over to our socials @PXDocs, where you can submit your question in our stories every single week. Every kid counts and every family counts, so let's leave no questions left unanswered. If you loved this episode and you want to help us reach more kids, we would so appreciate if you left a review and a rating on your favorite platform. God bless, be well. We'll see you on the next one.